So that Stephen Miller wasn't going to miss an event like this. I'm sure he's been running point on this.
Includes, for example, alien enemies of the United States, members of foreign terrorist organizations, and large categories of people who lobby and act on behalf of foreign governments. And so with taking this action, it ensures that large numbers of people who wrongly would be getting birthright citizenship will no longer be eligible for those benefits. The second action that he's taking, which is especially historic, is for the first time ever in American history to ban birth tourism. So I want you to really let that sink in. This has been something that people have talked about not only for years, but for decades. The idea that people come here pretending to be a tourist, pretending to be a visitor, saying they want to go to Disneyland, they want to go visit a monument or go to a national park, but the real reason they're here is to have a child, to make that child an automatic citizen, leave our country, and then have a U.S. citizen child. It gives them access under this broken system to welfare benefits, ultimately to the voting booth, and all the other rights and privileges that belong solely to Americans. So that practice of birth tourism is, as of the signing of this order, hereby banned. And what that means is that no one in the world is any more allowed to obtain a visa for this fraudulent purpose. It is probably, and President Trump has done many historic things on immigration, too many to list now, sealed the southern border shut, record deportations, record integrity, stopping foreign terrorist entry, record reduction in drug seizures, dismantling criminal cartels, dismantling the gangs, right? Everything he's done that has been so unprecedented. I would put this in the top 3 in terms of importance because it ends what has been one of the gravest and most egregious abuses of the American system, and it keeps American citizenship sacred.
Okay.
Living Dead, thank you. You put perfect words to it. Miller will never miss an opportunity to subtly disparage vast swaths of people who are also too dumb to pick up on the fact that he's doing it. He's the greatest. Yes, yes. Mr. Seuss said, always riffing Miller. No script Miller, they call him. You notice that. This man never speaks from prepared remarks. It is always straight from the big shiny dome. Gangbangers could be here, he thought. The gangbangers. I hate gangbangers. Here's his comments on on birth tourism, and I'm going to go into a little bit of the details of what the executive orders actually say here in just a moment.
Yes, for those of you who want to do your research on this, Section 215A of the Immigration and Nationality Act gives the president this authority. 215A of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Very rarely used, probably one of the strongest laws in the entire federal code, gives him this power. And that's not the only.
He's going to tell you exactly what code it is. Very rarely used. This is a consistent pattern we've seen for the last 20 months. Finding obscure, never-before-used laws, which have, obviously, if it's obscure, it's never been tested before, so, who knows what's going to happen with it. But it also means that in some cases, there isn't a bunch of legal baggage with it already. So they have the opportunity to define new laws. Like, they put all these different laws on the books, and then sometimes they get used, sometimes they don't. There's just massive thousands and thousands of pages of laws. But some of them are legitimate, just haven't been enforced. So you go find them and go, actually. So they're actuallying all these different systems using innovative legal techniques.
Only, but it's the main statutory authority that's being used in this order. So birth tourism is by definition a fraud on the American system, on the American taxpayer, on the American visa. If you're coming here, and again, your stated purpose is that you're a tourist, then by definition, you are here to come for a few weeks, look at what we have, engage in commerce, and leave. So if you're telling a consular officer you're here as a tourist, but your true purpose and intent is to go to a baby mill, give birth, and try to mint an American citizen while you're here, then you're committing a fraud against the American government. And by definition, that visa can and should and will be now denied. Yes, for those of you...
So this is where the enforcement comes in. They've established the legal basis for this enforcement mechanism, and now it's up to them to deploy the resources and the training and the personnel and making this a point of emphasis. that they crack down even harder on, like, there's all these things that are on the books, and they just need the executive is saying, see this thing that's already on the books? Do that. And then it's up to it making its way down the chain of command so that they do that. And they've got Stephen Miller breathing down their neck day and night. The last head of was it the head of ICE is retiring because there were like reports that he was afraid he was going to have a heart attack because he's getting pressured so hard by Stephen Miller. Yeah, his wife says unenforceable. Literally, the definition of enforceable is contained within the executive because the executive is the one that enforces. And they're laying out the legal basis for it pursuant to what the Supreme Court has already said. So they're challenging the Supreme Court to self-destruct. This is going to get legal challenges as well. And they're going to get run right up the chain again. And so then you're going to have the Supreme Court weighing in on the same issue. Very close together. Are you going to directly contradict yourself? Are you going to completely and thoroughly discredit the institution for all time? This is dropping their balls on the table. Now, obviously, you have to manage the legal side of it, and you have to manage the enforcement side of it. Wouldn't it be great if we got a bunch more guys working on enforcement? Instead of posting on the internet about how little enforcement is happening compared to what they would prefer. Here's the White House Staff Secretary, Will Sharf.
The law is absolutely clear. What we're talking about, as Stephen said, with respect to birth tourism, something that used to happen incidentally, where somebody who happened to be on vacation here went into labor early and had a baby. This was sort of a relatively small problem. What we've seen in recent years, though.
Look at the Norwood power in this picture. The Norwoods are in control. You realize what that means. The libs have no idea what's coming for them.
So is organized rings, at times criminal rings, setting up a system whereby tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people can come to this country in an organized fashion and give birth here purely for the sake of obtaining birthright citizenship. This order takes a number of different actions intended to combat those sorts of organized practices. We look very heavily at denying visas to people that we have reason to believe are coming here for that purpose. Visas both for putative parents, but also for the people organizing these rings. There's also obviously a law enforcement component. We'll have a full fact sheet released on this soon, but what we're doing is taking legally validated means that are clearly within our disposal and targeting them square on to this birth tourism industry.
So, listen to him describe that one more time.
Is taking legally validated means that are clearly within our disposal.
Legally validated means that are clearly within our disposal. So this is their emphasis with this. They have sat down. They have put they have centralized their Norwood power. They have mind melded the Norwoods and optimized for writing this in such a way that it corresponds with the opinion just handed down by SCOTUS. This is their emphasis. This is their purpose in fashioning it this way. So they're designing it with the intent of it not being knocked downable. Now, if it gets knocked down, they're going to go about it another way. And if that gets knocked down, they're going to go about it another way. All the while, people are being mass deported. This is the difference between competent governance and a panickin.
Never listen to a panickin.
And targeting them square on to this birth tourism industry. There's absolutely nothing in here that runs afoul of any of the Supreme Court's opinions on the subject. This is, frankly, it's action that's overdue, and I'm thankful that President Trump is finally taking decisive action to combat this issue of birth tourism now that it's been queued up in the way that it has as a result of the Supreme Court's opinion.
Now that it's been queued up. And then here's Trump talking about it.
So we're cracking down very big crackdowns, and this will give us the right to do it in a much more forceful manner. But they've taken birthright citizenship and they've made a joke out of it. And we're actually the only country of size, I think just about the only country, period, that does birthright citizenship. I thought we were going to win it at the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, we had a bad decision, very unfair decision. Our country suffers because of it, and we're ending it a different way. So we're cracking down very big.
Our country suffers because of it. It's not just that, like, oh, I really wanted to do this and now I'm mad. No, they're making our country suffer. My president does not want our country to suffer. My president has suffered for our country. So this guy here asked, did the administration say how this EO complies, sidesteps, or is different from the last EO that triggered the recent ruling on birthright citizenship? Grok replied, the prior EO broadly denied citizenship based on parents' illegal/temporary status and was struck down in Trump v. Barbara as violating the 14th Amendment. This new pair is narrower. One claims to apply only historical exceptions the court itself referenced, alien enemies, foreign terrorist organization members, and foreign agents, not a wholesale rewrite. You know who gets to define these things? You know who gets to define who an alien enemy is? You know who gets to define what a foreign terrorist organization is? You know who gets to define what foreign agents are? The other uses the INA, the Immigration and Naturalization Act, Section 215A statutory authority to ban birth tourism visas as a fraud. So they've said, okay, you're not going to let us ban birth tourism visas on the basis of the birthright citizenship argument. Okay, we're going to say that they are lying to come into the country. They're lying about the reason that they're here. This is fraud. So we can ban this on the basis of their engaging in fraudulent behavior on their visa applications. And once you've made this a priority, then you can start expanding. You can get this is how government bureaucracies work, right? They get directed at a targeted, narrow problem, and then they just kind of gradually start expanding. And it's really just up to the executive leadership how much they keep expanding. Which makes it really important that we maintain continuity of executive leadership, right? So here's a more detailed breakdown of it. I just had Grok summarize it for me. I sat and sort of skimmed through it, and I was like, okay, give me the key points of it. So U.S. citizenship is described as a sacred bond and inheritance, not a commodity. Birth tourism exploits immigration laws through deceptive practices by operators who advertise citizenship, public benefits, and specialized stays. These schemes undermine the immigration system, divert consular resources, erode public confidence, and impair national security efforts. So this is their basis for, they're saying this is fraudulent behavior. This is a commercial behavior engaging in deceptive practices to obtain a visa and these things that come with a visa on the basis of something other than their actual motivation. And it has national security implications. The definition of birth tourism is entering the U.S. on a non-immigrant visa for the purpose of giving birth on American soil or facilitating such entry by others. So this is another thing, is that they can, instead of going after the people themselves coming in, they can go after the people who are facilitating them coming in on the basis that they're engaging in fraudulent behavior with the federal government. The policy is that non-immigrant visa categories, tourism, study, temporary work, etc., must be used only for their intended temporary purposes and not to secure permanent benefits like citizenship for children or potentially the parents later. So this means when they're going through visa applications, this is something that they're going to be looking for. Are there indications that they're coming here to acquire citizenship for children? Is she pregnant? They have the latitude now to grill people on this and decide, nope, we're not going to give you a visa because we think you're lying to us. So the implementation is that the Secretaries of State and Homeland Security, or Marco Rubio and Mark Wayne Mullen, are directed and delegated authority under the Immigration and Nationality Act to take actions including preventing entry or visas for those seeking to engage in birth tourism, revoking visas and permanently barring those who attempt it. So people who already have visas, they can now go back and check and see if they're attempting to engage in birth tourism. There's another thing that you can get real expansive with. Denying entry or removing those who have engaged or plan to engage in it. So again, removing those who have engaged in it, and then taking action against facilitators, operators, and related entities. Now, there's exemptions in here. Allowed on humanitarian grounds or when entry is determined to be in the national interest. Obviously, this is a potential loophole. But without that loophole, you're just exposing surface area for a lawsuit. What you want is you want to be able to do this as long as possible with as little legal attention as possible. So if you don't put the exemption in there, then that's going to be immediately highlighted and used. Who controls the definition of humanitarian grounds or when entry is determined to be in the national interest? Who controls that? This is very important. Who controls the loopholes? The executive branch controls the loopholes. So if you don't want the loopholes exploited, then you want continuity of government. You want the executive branch to remain under the control of immigration restrictionists. Here's the other one. This is continuing to protect the meaning and value of American citizenship. The order builds on a June 30, 2026 Supreme Court decision, Trump v. Barber, that limited the 14th Amendment citizenship clause. It directs federal agencies not to recognize U.S. citizenship for certain children born in the United States when neither parent is a U.S. citizen. These are categories of children excluded from birthright citizenship recognition. So federal agencies are barred from issuing or accepting documents that recognize U.S. citizenship in these cases. First, alien enemies. Either parent is a member of a designated foreign terrorist organization or a specially designated global terrorist. Number two, foreign government employees. Either parent is an ambassador, embassy and consulate employee, is an ambassador, embassy, consulate employee who is a national of that country, other official foreign government employee, or someone with an international organization immunity. Birth tourism and commercial transactions. Either parent is engaged in a commercial transaction to obtain birthright citizenship, including arranging for the mother to be present in the U.S. or a U.S. territory specifically to give birth, or using a surrogate in the U.S. or territory for the same purpose. And then certain territories. The person is born in a U.S. territory or territorial waters where federal statute does not confer citizenship. So this one is the Secretaries of State, Homeland Security, Attorney General, and Social Security Commissioner must align their agency's policies with the order. All executive departments and agencies must issue public guidance within 30 days. Standard severability and general provisions apply. No new enforceable rights created subject to available funding, etc. So again, loopholes. This is the state of the government right now. We do not have a functioning federal government. We have an obstructionist Congress. We have a subversive, traitorous judiciary. And we have an executive branch that is in the process of being controlled. If you don't have the stomach for the fight, that's fine. Ditch diggers are important. But ditch diggers need to be digging ditches. We got a lot of ditches to dig. Ditch diggers need to be digging ditches, not engaged in political commentary. This is a generational war that is happening. There are no immediate fix-it buttons. All there is political will. And this is what political will looks like.